Hello, hello, hello. Starting another morning off. Fresh lettuce. Pugnacious. Hey, Kate, twin mommy. It only counts if you spell it right. You just gotta try harder, Pugnacious. I hope the three wee ones are terrorizing you fully today, AK. I don't know that word SoCal. I mean, I'm from here, so it's like a question when I first see it. SoCal, like, you gotta finish the question. So, Cal, what's up? Yeah, I already waked and baked. But we've been hammock ridden for 2 days now, and his eyes are flirting pretty good at that lettuce. Dreary, Alaska? Hey, Gary. You're like one of the only people that I hear read a comment. I go, did they misspell my name? Oh, Blackpool's here. Welcome. We're at a cloudy 65 degrees here, just a couple miles off the shore of Lake Michigan. Been up since 2:30. Hugs. I saw one of the streams this morning with them discussing the insane number of children who were roasting to death in cars. And my comment was basically they got a dinger if your headlights are on, they got a dinger if you forget your keys. Why don't you just put a dinger on the car seat? I mean, seriously, all of my grandkids' car seats have cup holders. I don't know, Pugs. I have a whole different issue on sleep. Sleep is a waste of your life. They should have never told me as a kid that you're going to sleep 1/3 of your life away. I'm like, not by choice. But I have this really critical advantage over the rest of y'all. I don't have the muscles around my eyes, so I literally live 24/7 in REM sleep. I know, it's crazy. Well, I forgot my kid was in the car. How did kids survive that long? I mean, well, when I was a teething baby, my daddy went to the bottom cupboard next to the fridge and reached back in there and grabbed out that quart jar and he stuck his finger in there and rubbed my gums and I just went to sleep. That clear water that they kept down there warmed me up, put me out. Hey, James, good to see you. You know, keeping an eye on your kids is like that's life itself. It's you give up looking caring about yourself until Oh, never. Literally, my mom still calls me. You haven't called me in a couple weeks. What's going on? Yeah, she's still parenting. Oh, I forgot to. Your inoculations will run out in here, Gary. You become part of the Blue Squad. We went from the dead of summer to the middle of fall really quick here. I've only heard one acorn hit the top of the trailer, but it's coming. Well, Gary, it's literally like this. You can't do anything to anybody because everybody's a mod that comes in here that I've checked on. So it's more for my vision. So I actually see when somebody new comes in. Then I can't do much. I mean, I don't even go look up the IP addresses of the people anymore. I did that for a while. I've seen you in other chats. You're fine. So it's like uniforms. You come in here, you put on your uniform, you obey, you become part of the commune, and we all sit here and wait for the Majesty's dragon ass, drag his ass across the floor and eat some lettuce. I mean, really. If he could e-beg, I'm telling you, he would e-beg for live bait. Oh, Sour Patch is awesome. Oh, yeah. I got three wonderful grandchildren that I was the nanny to, and the whole time I was raising my kids, I told them, look, you can do whatever you want because, as long as you're willing to take the punishment for it, but realize you're going to have children someday, and I'm going to be their grandfather. So anything you don't want them to know, you better think about before you do it. Because I ain't going to hold back. They're going to know it all. And they would look at me like, why do you waste your time telling me that, Dad? How's the crazy neighbor, AK? I missed hearing her on the live stream. Yeah, you got yours tenfold with Sour Patch, I'm telling you. And they have proven that insanity is hereditary because you do get it from your children. That's stolen from old Bill Cosby that nobody wants to talk about anymore. Except Dave Chappelle. Of course, no one wants to talk about his new Netflix video. Hey, strapping together. Seen a couple of those videos of yours in between all the other stuff I watch. This is my room. We come in here and watch the king dragon sit on his ass and then drag his ass across the floor and eat some lettuce. His name's Reptar. You have to wear a uniform in here so I can recognize who you are because I'm visually impaired. It is, Gary. I tell you. I mean, they do the whole, oh man, in the hospital it was so wonderful. I held this in my arms, and then I went, everything it's gonna do, it's gonna try and kill itself. Man, what did I get myself into? I just think it's so sweet you named it Sour Patch. Well, I used to. I referred to my youngest. That's the child I loved until she learned to speak. Man, I used to love her back then. What an adorable child. Then she learned to speak. Reptar, do I have to entice you? Should we e-beg for some live mealworms? I was hoping to put it in the budget this month, but it's not there. Uh, you get freeze dried, and I get hot dogs that are. It's actually lucky because I have O negative blood, and if you're like me and you study things like that, but as long as it's got some kind of protein in it, that's what my blood accepts for energy, anyways. So I really don't digest vegetables or fruits real well because my blood type O negative doesn't have those kind of grabbers, you might say. It's like they're round with a square hole in it, and protein fits in that square hole. The fruits and vegetables, they got oblong holes and different shit. So I wouldn't advise living on hot dogs and bologna and eggs if you don't have type O blood. There are a few books out on it too. Your diet should be definitely tied right to your blood type. I had the middle child in my five child group was what you might call gullible, and her malformed brain for some reason. Let me explain it this way. By 15, I couldn't eat dinner with the family any longer because every meal was a family meal where you discussed things of the day. You had to tell about your school day. Dad talked about what you did at work, and Mom talked about what she did at home. And my sister and I were in school, my older sister, and we would tell some story about something that happened in school. And you could sit there and count on your fingers, and when you got to five, my sister, just younger than me, would retell the story like it had never been told before. Every single meal. And she's kind of the thing I think of when they say people are into Scientology. Their brain don't work right, and they're pretty damn gullible. Now, everybody puts faith in things, whether they want to admit it or not. And my simple example is if you're going to go to the store for food, you sit down You take a piece of paper, you take this graphite or ink-based object, and you squiggle some letters on it, numbers that are just basically these lines and circles. And then you count out some metal or some paper or this plastic piece of card. Then you go there and trade it for food and come home. How much faith you put in that paper, the ink or graphite, the coin, the paper money, the card, the fact that when you got there, they were going to say, hey, yeah, I'll take that for food. I mean, that's faith. There's no reason for any of it. You simply believe it has value. And I'm eating and eating and eating. See, all I had to do was get into a tirade, and here comes the appetite. Hey, Joe, you made it. Yeah, he's eating today. It's like a little kid. If he don't eat, I worry about him all day. There's some conspiracy out there that you look or act like your pet, or they look or act like you, whichever. Yep. That sucker sits there about 20 hours a day and comes over and crawls over and eats and goes back and sits there. We're so much alike. Reptar, the eater of lettuce. Good to see you, Joe. And if you haven't watched Joe's Cool, he is the verbal judo master. I'm telling you, black belt. All I know is the first thing I bought when I got the lizard. It's like, this thing looks cool. It's all woven bamboo or something like that, and all natural. And dude, he loves it. And the skulls, they're donated by Roadhog Kennel. A couple of goat skulls and a raccoon skull. I first got the hammock because all the reading I did, I couldn't afford all the stuff to maintain the heat on the bottom. So by raising that up, I put him in a temperature zone where he's more comfortable, which is 90 to like 105 is. You can't see me on there, Joe. But yeah, I am fat. I did a lot of muscle work and built a lot of muscles. First, I built houses, then furniture, and I was a good solid 240 when I finally tore my back up so bad I couldn't do anything. I got it down to where I couldn't work a 4-hour shift lifting diamonds at Kohl's. So, problem is I'm a good cook, so on went the calories, on went the fat. I know you can get a couple more bites in there for you. Give up. You need a whole meal. I'm eating in 3 days. What shall I try next? Oh, the lizard. Yeah, the dude is healthy, but he still has a little folds in his skin when he moves certain ways. And don't let him kid you, man. You put a live bait in there, and he can jump from one end of that cage to the other in the blink of an eye. Just don't waste energy. Aw, Sour Patch. Give Mommy a hug, and don't forget to wipe your drool or snot on her leg. Hey, Freedom to Film, how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, Sour Patch is one of her 3 munchkins. Yeah. Oh, that's it, guys. We're gonna give it up. Gotta go sit. All that work. So much effort. Well, make y'all dizzy for a second, maybe, and stay out here for a minute. Just change the video view. I wish I could get the reflection to work. The screen don't work if I pointed at the TV. That's crazy on the. But I get a reflection off of this tank at night that I can do the TV because we have our beach. We have a 24-hour video of online that you can watch. So we'll just move it and get a better view of where he's at because the light kind of affects it. Of course, I got to move the screen so I can read it and see him. A little more adjustment. Don't fall over. Just tipping you down a bit. There we go. Yeah, he extends so much effort. He just lays in the middle all day and then he'll crawl all the way up to the top as high as he can get at night and close his eyes and go to sleep. Freezing? Alright, Joe, we'll check you later, man. Toddlers, they're so cool. When 2 of my grandkids were in school and I was watching the one that wasn't yet, it was still naps. So I would say it's nap time and he would say no and I'd say, look, I'm taking a nap, maybe 2 or 3. So do you want 1 nap or 2 naps? No, I don't want 2 naps. Okay, but you gotta make a choice, 1 nap or 3 naps. No, 1 nap, 1 nap. Oh, are you sure? Yeah, okay. There we go, crawling up to the digestion post. I worked on it until one day when there wasn't school and I said it and the older sibling went, 0 naps, what are you talking about? That's the thing about it, AK. The first one discovers everything and disseminates the information down the ladder. So you think number 1 is bad, and then number 2 knows all the number 1's bad traits plus his own, and then you get to number 3. And if you got twins, my sister had twins. They were 3 years old and would go in the bedroom and change the clothes from each other and pretend to be the other person at 3. Good luck with those twins. Now they did grow up and they're wonderful kids. They take care of their great grandma. They make sure she doesn't want for anything. They're wonderful children. But when they were younger, they were more of a handful. Good luck with that. And the first day they can look at each other and point at each other and went, he did it and he did it. Good luck with that too. Well, Reptar, you did a great job today. Met all expectations. Timely fashion. Your entire work day is over. Never knew any of them. I was limited. My great grandmother was a full-blooded Sioux Indian, and I met her twice. My grandmother, I met 3 times. Well, those were on my dad's side, and was really close with my mother's mother, so my grandma. But I never met my original grandfather. She remarried, and I knew him. He was a great guy. And the great grandparents on their side were never met any of them. And I really regret that because there was so much in just the short few hours that I was with my great grandmother. It's like you absorb the wisdom like it's importanter than anything you've been told by your parents or. Hey, Drew, good to see you. You'd have to run it back, and I don't even know if I have settings right for that, but Reptar did come down and bless us with sharing his meal. He hadn't eaten in 3 days, so I was pretty sure when I went live and fed him today he'd eat. I haven't seen any new notifications of your pet videos, Drew. Yeah, I hear you, Gary. If I ever did any preaching to my kids, it was that, look, you get today with your kids. You want to blow it off, you're never going to get it back. You've got now, and they're your kids. So it don't matter what you do, you know, but it's your choice to either have that day with them, and it goes for all family, up and down. But that was really the only time I ever preached to them. That was. I'm going to be a real uh, bad American for a second, Gary, too, and ask because I grew up on Doctor Who and and I love the different dialects that are in the English. I watched a lot of the movies. And some of them it's really hard for me to understand. You're like figure what they're saying after they say it when they're saying something else. So what part of England does your way you speak come from, if you don't mind? Really became apparent that things were different when I moved from Ohio to Michigan, and they said, "Well, you got a funny accent." I'm like, I live 300 miles away from here. Then I looked 300 miles south of where I lived and went, oh. Never understand me that it's either urban or what would it be? Not Dorchester. There's a couple of them that, I mean, I get you. The slang is really tough too. But if you travel, a simple thing like carbonated flavored water that we drink here, it's soda, it's pop, it's Coke, no matter what kind it is. My grandma called it Coke. Do you want a Pepsi Coke or Mountain Dew Coke? I'm like, no, can I get a Coca-Cola Coke? Like Shire? Oh man, that's thick. That's thick. That's like trying to go down and listen to Cajun talk. It's like, it's English, but wow. Thank you for sharing. It's just one of those things. But you don't see real well, you hear pretty clearly, and dialects are really something that you enjoy. You'll call it pop. We were kind of in a transitional area there in Ohio. If we went north, it was pop. If we were just south, it was soda. I think soda was more rural because the old soda pop machines from the corner drugstore where they have it. I do follow several channels over there that I watch their gardening style, where they don't have much property, but they make use of it. When I was able, I did several square foot gardens that turned out an impressive amount of quantity. I know it's just you well, they say the studies show that early on in life, what you hear is how your brain accepts things later in life, and that those people that can learn foreign languages easily are usually subjected to them before they're two. But I'll tell you what, and this is serious. When we talked to Grandma down in Tennessee on Christmas Day, it every one of the kids got on the phone, and by the time you got off the phone, you had a definitely increased Southern dialect. It was funny as shit. You get on there talking normal, but by the time you get off with Grandma, you're like, yeah, y'all are great. The only foreign language I ever studied or took serious was back in the teenage years, and it was ancient Greek. And there were, the pastor also spoke it, and I spoke it, but we really weren't sure if we were speaking it right, obviously, because all the freaking ancient Greeks are dead. And that's pretty much what Reptar's going to do for the rest of the day. Yeah, no, it's his aquarium, Gary. Only the fish, move around a hell of a lot more. About all you get is his eyeballs. He moves those around a little bit. And he really just lays there. He'll only get up, maybe reposition, maybe once a day every couple of days, but he'll sit there until he's ready to go to sleep, and then he'll climb all the way up at the tip toppiest he can get and just lay his legs over the side, and out he goes. It's way more relaxing than if I turn the screen on me. Be all the deep therapy. And if he wanted privacy, he could create privacy. He's got no expectations of not being on film. I didn't ask for claw mission. And I don't know if any of you celebrated Labor Day, but I wished every woman in labor that she had a good day. And I point out the ironicalness of the fact that if you go back 9 months from Labor Day, it's kind of New Year's Eve. When most people get a little drunk and do the nasty and babies, 9 months later, we have Labor Day. Coincidence? No, he maybe 3 or 4 other people that I've talked to online that have lizards have questioned the same thing. About a week and a half ago, the diet, an increase or decrease in the amount they ate, seemed to follow right with the change in weather we had here. But he hasn't been nearly as aggressive to eat, and didn't even come down for 2 days, even though he had fresh food each day. And I used to think it was because I fed him, pretty much got up the same time within an hour, and he always got fed when I ate breakfast, and I thought it was in the timing, but there's some difference maybe in the temperature and the temperature inside his cage, whether he's digesting the food as fast. But that's about the quantity of not moving food that he eats a day when he eats normal. Now I could put live food in there all day long and he'll go after it. It's like the bass. You just can't resist that motion right in front of him. Triggered. There was a few days ago that I should have videoed it because he was crawling around the hammock and across the logs, and some bug must have hatched because there was something so small I couldn't see, but he could. He was out there eating invisible, can't see him for about an hour. You want a close-up reptar before I let everybody go? Actually, I can, Gary. When I would feed him on a near regular basis and had both the heat lamp running 24/7 and the light on for 14 hours a day, if I didn't feed him within about 10 minutes of the normal feeding time, he would get down, walk over, and look at me. So, yeah, I think actually he was telling me, hey, I'm hungry, feed me. And it wasn't like a single time. It was a couple dozen times or more that it happened. So I do think that you can tell when he's hungry. And I mean, I have to walk past him to get out of the room. And when I bring the food in, I used to push a kitchen chair as my table because I can't walk without something. And his food would be sitting there on the table next to my food, and man, his head would just like pivot as it slid by and pivot. And his head would turn when I sat down, and as soon as my hand went up on the top to put the food in, it was like, here it comes. Now I use the walker, so everything has to be inside a bag or something for me to carry it, so you don't get to see it coming. Actually got some view time today. For a while I wasn't getting crap. I had trouble, but I think it's pinpoint down to the fact that my hard drive is redlined. That I can't go live going through YouTube. I had to download, which I had to OBS already downloaded to go through YouTube anyway. But it was set up on Twitch, so I just hit the go live button on YouTube and went live through YouTube. Now I have to use Streamlabs. Yeah, that's both of those. And then I also have another thermometer that's just stuck on the wall over here because that's the coldest spot. But the wall behind there is the hot water heater in the closet. So in the winter, the hot water heater was like keeps that wall warm, real warm. And the cage is a little cooler than should be, but I mean it doesn't get below 80 as long as I have at least the light on. And in the winter when it's cold at night in here, I do just throw a towel up over there. It covers about half of the top. But that one light is a heat lamp, and the other's a daylight bulb. And I don't like the daylight, the new ones. They don't put any heat off. But he lived in a basement from the time he was a baby, so it's actually warmer here than he had it when he was growing up. You can see he had a great big growth spurt after he got here. But he's super docile. He got handled by my 3 grandkids from the time he was little for about 6 months, so he doesn't have any problem with people. But overall, they're a Central Australian semi-desert, really. Yeah, and basically the heat is their digestive system. So they would just digest slower if it's not as long as it's in a close range. From what I read, it's like 100 or 85 to 90 to 105 is their premium range, but they can exist above or below that. When it's usually real warm, he does drink more. I mean, I keep water in there all the time, but he probably won't take a drink until next spring now. And a really unusual thing is they don't pee. They just poop two colors of poop. One is dark and one is white, and white is how they extricate from the fluids in their body. The biggest thing is that I'm reducing the light by like 45 or more percent because I run it through the screen. If you open the screen up, that light doubles that's in there. But if you look at his back and you look at all the color in it, he's not short on any daylight. He's getting plenty of light. Yeah, I like the tortoise. I mean, when he's eating a lot of lettuce, he does. It's some liquid comes out when he takes a crap, but red tortoise is cool. Oh, you moved your eye. Oh my goodness, Raptor, how active are you? Yeah, yeah, it's a meter thing. Okay, gotta check the excrement. Yeah. I always think of the dinosaur movies where they're digging through the piles of poo and the dinosaur. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, Spirit of Sky had a video where she was in some park here and she showed some tortoises. I think that was in her title. So you can see in the reflection of the screen, or the glass, that I'm reading the chat, but I'm across the room, maybe 6 feet away, so I have the magnifier on 300%, so I can read the chat. I get up and I take 3 steps and I go, my God, those letters are huge. But I sit back here, if I were to just read the chat, I'd end up with a migraine trying to focus on what it says. Yeah, that was a pretty neat little place. It'd be nice if they had like electric carts so you could bring, people that can't walk around, because that's quite a walk. Never would have worried about that before, but oh man, I get on my phone and I turn on YouTube because sometimes I wasn't thinking I was getting notices, so I have a second channel and I go on there and I'm like, I can't even tell they're dots. They're all words. That's one of the issues I have. If I use the internet, the page, I'm only seeing like 20% of the page, and you're trying to find where to click, and you just, by the time you look around, it's like, if the site says handicap assistance, I'm like, I'm all for that. Now, I've had glasses since I was 4. Got a birth defect and see different with each eye, and each eye is independent because I don't have the muscles that are there that control them. So they just bounce around all over the place, which was unique because my mind had to develop a way to figure out the environment around me, and it found a way, even though I think my mom and dad went broke going to all the specialists, and they all said there's a home for the blind about 35 miles from where you live. I'd move close to there because this kid can't see. But they had those private conversations. They didn't involve me, so I didn't know. So if I could, I can see. I get to see things that aren't there. I get to see things, more than one thing that is there. But it's given me that steadfast belief that we adapt. And humans are one of the most adaptive creatures there are. I believe I got one. How long have I been on here enunciating? Almost an hour. Our Reptar did good today. I'm going to give him a close-up. I think I can get a close-up on this. Reptar. Oh, it's better back here. How you doing, Reptar? What do you think? Hmm? Hey, good citizen. Yeah, you can move them inside. Do you have like a room or a cage or a, some form of facility? You have a Savannah monitor? Those are cool. All inside. Well, I assume that you would. I just didn't know if you had like your whole garage set up for them, or she gets outdoors. That's so cool. We had an iguana that it measured like 5'10" from the nose to the tail that had the run of the house. At the same time, I had a blue and gold macaw that was in clip that got full run of the house. And thing was never an issue unless you took it outside. You took him outside and it like went full blown native. It just run, tear the ground up, bite you, go, take it back in the house, and nothing. Well, that's so cool that they get to go outside. That's awesome. And you get a forced induction when you join the room, good citizen, if you're one of the community, the people that I know. You become part of the blue team. Yeah, sorry you have to wear a blue uniform in here. Yeah, Drew's awesome. Love the tortoises. Turtles. When I had the money, one of the funnest groups that I had were I had a mini reef with invertebrates. That was awesome. There were a few fish of different kinds, but not coral eaters. So none of the really cool ones that people see and go, oh, those are neat. Yeah, they eat coral. I had like multiple different kinds of coral in there, so you didn't have those kind of fish. But that was a money pit. Cool. Well, I almost had a second one. I was gonna take one in as a rescue. It had a mouth illness, but there was a male. There's some question out there that the two males don't get along, and I can't do a whole nother setup financially, nor do I have the outlets in this little room left. And I couldn't see putting him somewhere in the house that I'm not at most of the day, 20 hours or more. Reptar don't get much interaction, but I'm here for him. You catch the grasshoppers? That was one of the things that I got a lot of comments on when I asked about anything from outside. You have to be careful because the chemicals and everything. I suppose it's just a yeah, I bet. Reptar's a lot happier when I give him my food. And even though, I mean, you can order it right through Amazon. You can get crickets or mealyworms. And those, when I do that, I go on the site and then look at the comments and read what people have to say. That's where I got a lot of my comments, communication, going back and forth with those people. A medium rat? Ooh. That's a pretty good size lizard. Goodness. Oh, they say that the bearded dragon can exist on vegetation once it's an adult. But their proclivity for a bone issue, lack of calcium, is they give a, you can buy a powder that I have that you can add to their diet. And reptile actually has one deformed foot, claw, whatever you want to call on the back. Don't like me to mess with it much if I try to touch it, but other than that, you know, you pick him up and just hold him, it doesn't seem to bother him. I had a kid stay with me for a while that had a really cool lizard and a snake, and he had fed it frozen mice for about 2 years. Then I went out and paid for the live mice, but that backfired and didn't digest it well, couldn't shit it out, tied itself up in knots. Finally, it split its stomach and it ended up dying. That was so sad. I felt so bad. It was like when I was a kid, I get hamsters, and I'd run around on the wheel all night long with obnoxious noise, whether it was a metal wheel or a plastic wheel. After about 3 months, I'd sneak in and get them some carrots and celery, and then they'd die from diarrhea. So when I was like, my daughter approached me about taking over a reptar from my grandson, it was like, let me check on how hard they are to care for first. Yeah, they develop relationships. And they have that mental capacity. My McCall went with me everywhere I went. There were literally several stores and bank and every place where it was on my shoulder everywhere I went. Even played frisbee golf, and she would fly from one post to the next after a while. Sleeps by your pillow. That's awesome. When I was a couch potato, loved the back of the couch. My front window was 129 inches wide, and it would lay on the king size sofa and just on the top edge and just bask in the sun all day long. And man, once it warmed up and it went to eat, it moved like a rocket. It was the rest of the time it was like slow motion action, and then they get warmed up and off it'd go like in a heartbeat over to the bird room and get on his food area. And at the time, I worked in a furniture factory. I had access to the whole factory, and I did a lot of work with sassafras because it's not toxic to animals, and all the framework for the perches that I built for the parrot were built out of sassafras logs. And I built little shit to make him move around to get his food. He didn't just get a free meal like I get Reptar, drop it in there. He had to uncover the blocks or move this or that to eat. Him, I because of the other animals that I raised, he got to eat boiled heart and liver, venison, cow, and a mixture of we had 3 different kinds of lettuce. So he did eat lettuce too, but not a lot. But I mixed it in with his meat. Alright, Gary, we'll see you. I'm about done now anyway. That's like that thermos of coffee is about run through me. Well, it's good to see you all in here. I appreciate it. We really basically found out on accident because we fed the dogs. We had show dogs that were dachshunds, and they only ate chicken, heart, and liver. That was their diet. Nothing out of processed, nothing with corn. And dachshunds really are, it's like a toxin, corn to them anyways, but. And he just, you know, he got some of it and took, I'm like, I tried fish, I thought fish would work, but never touched the fish. And that was whether it was raw or boiled or steamed, actually. Because I give the cats steamed fish. But they seem to pick what they want to eat. I mean, it was more of a put the dog dish down. The wizard came over and was like, "Holy shit, like that, huh?" So I don't know if they're omnivores or not, but he loved it. And it was never like more than an ounce. It wasn't like he ate a bunch of it, but he loved it. So it never seemed to adversely affect him. Not the blue and gold macaw. He did have nothing to do with anything that wasn't nuts or. He did like fireball candy. He'd take a fireball and put it in his mouth and shave off little edges of it. After a while, his mouth would be on fire. He'd spit it out, and he'd come back for it after a while. Oh, but the funniest part was I drank Permafrost, which was a Canadian schnapps, 100 proof, with peppermint and cinnamon mix. And he would demand to have a sip of that shot every day. And I'd put it up there and then put that beak in there, and all the feathers would just go. He'd shake his head, and I'd offer him another. Oh, no, 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 no. But the next day, same thing, had to try it. It was hilarious. Alright, Reptile, you ready to sign off? All that activity got you worn out? Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all being in here, and I'm going to be on my way. All one viewer. As usual, we gone.